que diga lo que diga, yo soy libre de pensar, porque siento que es la hora de ganar la libertad. ¿Hasta cuando ya de abusos? Es el tiempo de cambiar, porque basta de miseria, voy a decir que no.
Porque nace el arco iris después de la tempestad, porque quiero que florezcan mis maneras de pensar, porque sin la dictadura la alegría va a llegar, porque pienso en el futuro, voy a decir que no. Vamos a decir que no, oh,
con la fuerza de mi voz.
Vamos a decir que no, oh, yo lo canto sin temor. Vamos a decir que no, oh,
Todos juntos a triunfar.
vamos a decir que no, por la vida y por la paz.
Terminemos con la muerte, es la oportunidad.
Welcome once again to Return of Marco Polo. We have left French Polynesia and we've come to the Cook Islands. It's an independent country in the South Pacific. In this program we will hear the view from Polynesia, the view from Cook Islands, and we have been able to talk to the Prime Minister from the Cook Islands, that's Geoffrey Henry. And we'll say first of all to you, hello.
Yorana.
Yorana, and thanks a lot for being able to come here to your country, visit your place here, and congratulations on the day of the Constitution.
Yes.
For Cook Islands, because it's not just a normal day here, actually it's a day of celebration. Many congratulations to you for that. And you are Prime Minister here at Cook Islands,
yes,
and have been that for some time now. You are acquainted with all the problems which come to a Prime Minister as the leader of a country. Cook Islands is a Pacific nation consisting of islands as the country's name
Yes, we've
says.
got 15 islands altogether,
Yes.
in the group.
Yes. And how many people live here in Cook Islands?
Population now is about 17,700. It used to be around about 23,000 people, but what's been happening is that some of our people have migrated to other places like New Zealand and Australia.
As a small country in the Pacific Islands, but still a country which should be regarded as an independent country like any other country, you must, as any other leader, face some problems. And I know you are working on fishing rights.
Yes.
Could you explain about those problems which you are encountering together with other Pacific nations right now when we're talking about fishing rights here?
Yes. Well, we have, as a country, something like 2 million square kilometers of ocean waters. That's within the exclusive economic zone of the Cook Islands. And that's a large territory of water to possess. And within that water there is a large amount of resources, and one of which, of course, is the tuna fish, the albacore. And we have 3 countries that have been licensed by my government to fish in our waters for commercial purposes. We have Japan, Taiwan, and South Korea. Now, one of the problems that's been taking place is that these countries in the past have been engaging in a form of fishing that's proved extremely dangerous so far as the conservation of the volume of fish in our area is concerned. Drift net fishing is absolutely barbarous in its form. There's no other way to describe it.
I'm sorry, but could you explain what is drift net fishing? I'm not sure that all the viewers would know what that is.
Yes, well, drift net fishing is a method, I think, that was devised by the Japanese and the Taiwanese primarily, whereby they use a single filament type of netting that goes as much as 30 meters deep and extends from anywhere between 30 to 50 kilometers long. And what happens is that they just release the net off the boat and drop it into the sea and allow it to drift. That's where the phrase drift net fishing comes from.
Yes.
And allows us 30 kilometers of wall of single nylon filaments to simply drift through the water and catch anything that is afloat. And then they draw all that back in after a while and throw back what they don't want and keep the albacore, which is primarily what they're after. What's happening, of course, is that at any one time throughout the world, there's something like 30,000 miles of drift nets extending around the world that's just drifting through the ocean, North and South Pacific. And this has really proven extremely dangerous in that the resource is being destroyed very rapidly. Now, we made complaints. Our fisheries people attended a special conference that was held in Suva this year, at which the other fishing nations, major fishing nations, were invited and did attend. And at that meeting, the South Koreans agreed that they would cease this type of fishing. However, both Taiwan and Japan have resisted our efforts to stop them from this kind of fishing.
But the drift net fishing, you say they will sort of clean the water for all which is there.
Will catch anything that is adrift.
And then they will throw it overboard, though that which they don't want. But that will that be killed, or will they just continue to live, or what will happen?
Some,
there?
of course, will be dead.
Yeah.
Some may survive and probably live on traumatically for the rest of its living days.
Yes.
But the problem, of course, is that we have some idea how much is being drawn in onto the boats, but we don't know how many albacore and tuna have also died in the process and have not brought ashore, brought onto the boat. The real problem is the net is sweeping everything ahead of it.
Yes.
And therefore really destroying marine life.
And traditionally, Cook Islands and other Polynesian islands have been dependent on the fishing. So can't you just tell the Japanese and the Taiwanese to go out of your waters?
Well, of course, what happens here is that they have a right to fish within our economic zone. They are carrying out this form of drift net fishing in international waters. So they do cross our boundaries to get to the international waters, where then they throw off these nets. So we have a problem. In fact, the whole world has a problem here, because these nations are fishing in international waters over which there are certain laws which apply. But the question of who can enforce those laws is a problem. Now, the general belief by the international lawyers is that the form of fishing that the Japanese and the Taiwanese are conducting in these international waters are inconsistent with international law. But nobody has yet told us who is going to stop them from undertaking what is obviously a breach of international law and understanding. The only way this can be stopped is for the Cook Islands and other nations of the Pacific to get together,
Yes.
talk together, and prepare a properly integrated program of surveillance so that we have a very exact idea where the Japanese and the Taiwanese are at any single moment of any single day.
Yes.
And if we did pass laws amongst ourselves which prevented any ship carrying drift net from crossing our boundaries into international waters, we can stop them.
Yes.
But if we don't cooperate, this kind of fishing will go on for a long time.
And that will probably in the future cause problems for the nations here in the Pacific.
Absolutely. You see, we are oceanic people, and we're surrounded by huge expanses of water. Our life is in those waters. Our future is in those waters. And what is produced in there is very much a part of our culture, a part of our way of life, and a part of our deity. I mean, that's where our sustenance is. So what happens out there is very important to us.
That's understandable. I know you have, and also other Pacific nations have been working on a ban for these ships to come in and bunker petrol and oil and fuel and so on,
Yes.
which would also make it difficult for them to operate, because they
Well,
need...
we're looking a bit more than that. We're looking at not simply passing laws whereby it would be an offense on their part to carry drift nets through our waters. That's one. We're also looking at preventing them from calling ashore on any of the islands. And we're also looking at preventing the fish caught by them from being processed by any factory within the Pacific.
Yeah.
So we're looking at all sorts of ways of making our point felt.
And are you making progress in these efforts to stop it,
Well, certainly,
uniting the Pacific nations there?
well, to begin with, we made progress in the sense that the South Koreans have seen the light.
Yes.
And amongst ourselves, as a result of the forum, which is a meeting of Pacific Island leaders that was held just recently, in fact, the early part of May in
Yes.
Kiribati,
Yes.
a declaration was resolved and agreed upon, which would be followed up by the drafting of appropriate laws. And it's a declaration that seeks to ban drip net fishing, not just in the Pacific, but throughout the world. And it's our intention to see that declaration promoted and promulgated through the United Nations. And it's our hope that the members of the United Nations would lend their support to our effort to stop what we see as daylight murder of our own resources.
Yes. That's very understandable. Another thing which I know you are, and also other Pacific nations are quite concerned about, is the maybe coming greenhouse effect.
Yes.
Which will lead to certain consequences all over the world, but it will have certain special consequences for many of the Pacific Islands,
yes,
including some of the Cook Islands. Could you explain about that?
Yes. Well, at the moment, the position regarding the possibility of the greenhouse effect is pretty doubtful, in the sense that some scientists are saying one thing and some scientists are saying another. There are some who are predicting dire consequences for the Pacific Islands, particularly low-lying islands. We have some of them in the northern group. Kiribati, Tuvalu, and places like that would be in dire straits if the predictions of some of these scientists come about, whereby it is said that the level of water would rise dramatically from anywhere between 2 to 3 to 20 meters. And it is, some scientists say that this will happen as soon as 2050. Now, we draw some sort of comfort from the view expressed by some scientists that this process will definitely happen. There is an increasing volume of carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, and that's creating more heat. The heat will melt the ice caps. That will cause a rise in the sea levels. They say this will happen, but the temperature rise is going to move so slowly, so also will the rise in the water level. And some of the marine biologists are now saying that given the fact that the water level will rise very slowly over the next 100, 200 years, it is highly possible that the reefs which to surround the islands, being live things,
Yes.
will grow also with the level of water.
Oh.
So that the protection for the islands might still be there. But without doubt, the greenhouse effect, if it should happen tomorrow, is going to inundate this part of this island, where we're sitting right now,
Yes.
will be covered with water.
Yes.
My people will have to go back up the hills.
Yes.
And we have islands in the northern group who will be completely covered.
Yes. So, I mean, the greenhouse effect is caused by the destruction of the ozone layer, as probably most people know. What is also worth noting is that it's not your people here at Cook Islands who are using all this spray.
It seems to us terribly unfair. It seems to us terribly unfair that we, innocent people in the Pacific, will be suffering the consequences of the action of so-called advanced nations. One has to wonder sometimes whether they are that advanced if they don't realize that what they're doing is destroying the very natural things which God put in place for our own sake, for our own protection. I think we're far more advanced than they are.
So,
You see, our people, the Cook Islands people and the people of Polynesia, have for several years, hundreds of years, been a part of this ocean. They conquered this ocean. Long before anybody else came to this part of the world, my people came here, they conquered this ocean. They inhabited every single habitable island. They settled on it.
Yes.
And when every one of those islands was settled, they didn't travel anymore. They found enough land.
Yes.
And they lived within the confines provided by nature in those islands. We learned to live with nature, to work with nature, not to fight it. We had enough brains not to take on nature as an opponent.
Mm-hmm.
We learned to work with it, to live with it. And then so-called advanced nations come about and destroy what nature has given us. I find this incredible.
Yes. And Now we are on a volcanic island here in Rarotonga, but some of the other islands in Cook Islands are atolls, and the means of getting food and getting what you need as proteins and vitamins are different, aren't they?
Very much so. For the out islands, of course, there's little vegetation other than coconut trees and a few other fruit-bearing trees. In fact, very few. There are not many vegetables growing up north either. Rarotonga is different. So also Aitutaki and the islands in the southern group, all of which are volcanic and volcanic atoll combination. Rarotonga, of course, is a volcanic island with very, very rich soil, where you can get plenty of food growing. But in the northern group, they are almost entirely dependent upon the fish that they catch in the waters, and the coconut trees, and the odd breadfruit, and the odd taro that grows out of the soil that they can grow there. Food supply is limited. This island has to supply them. Our resources are quite limited. There's no question about that. But that sea is our main natural resource. The most important resource of this country is its people. And we've taken many steps to upgrade the standards of education. So I want Cook Islanders to be well educated so they can use their heads, use their brains to keep being ingenious in finding new ways of making things happen for them in life, rather than being dependent on government or on someone else to make life happen for them. I want Cook Islanders to find their own way in life. So education has been very important. But in terms of natural resources, really we have the sea, and there's plenty out there. And if we husband it carefully, we will have plenty. We have, for example, minerals on our seabeds. Between here and the island of Manihiki, which is some 666 miles north of here, there is what is known by the scientists as the Manihiki Plateau. And 320 miles south of Rarotonga, the southwest side, down for about 520 miles, is another plateau full of manganese nodules. And these nodules have now been found to contain a special element called yttrium, which is used in the construction of superconductors. Something that's extremely important in this day and age. Now, we've got plenty of that stuff in the water. We're just leaving there. That's what you might call money in the bank for the Cook Islands for tomorrow.
Yeah.
The day will come when extracting that will become commercially viable. At the moment, we're not talking to anybody. People want to talk to us. I just want to keep quiet on it. There are things we can work on. Like, for example, tourism. Tourism is now the biggest industry of this country. This country, such as the way that God has made it, lends itself easily to the industry of tourism. We have the climate, we have the waters, we have the people, we have the culture that creates sufficient mystique that makes it possible for people to come here and enjoy either an exciting or a very romantic type of holiday. People are natural, the natural things around here, and people from the northern part of the hemisphere, for example, people who have to weather cold temperatures morning, noon, and night, and every day of the year, and fight against snows, sleets, and what have you. Look at this. It's a beautiful, sunshiny day.
Very
and
nice.
It's been like this for 2.5 weeks now.
Yeah.
Now, we have natural surroundings, which lends itself easily to the business of tourism. So that's one that we are concentrating on and developing. In fact, we look forward to seeing more people come from Europe to see this part of the world. Come and see the Pacific before the greenhouse effect takes over and buries us. Tourism. The other one, of course, is agriculture. Now, Rarotonga and the southern group islands have very rich natural soils. And we grow certain tropical fruit, which a country like New Zealand, for example, can't grow. Now, if we pick and choose very carefully the type of product that fetches high prices in the New Zealand market, things like, for example, lychees, vanilla, special types of vegetables like snow peas and this sort of thing. If we aim for the high quality product that fetches high prices in the New Zealand market, we will do extremely well here.
Yes.
Not to mention the fact that if the agriculture people did plan their work carefully, they can in fact feed the tourism industry that is now rapidly growing. I mean, on the island of Rarotonga, for example, now we have 21 restaurants on an island where there are only 9,000 people. We've got 21 restaurants, different flavors, the Italians, the Chinese, and it's all here.
Yes.
And we can cater for a variety of tastes. All then we need to do is to coordinate the tourism industry with our agricultural industry, and we've got a good thing going. Turning back to the sea, and that's a project which we started in February this year, and with the assistance of the United States government. On the island of Saguaro, just a few miles north of here, a little over 300 miles north of here, we're starting a program for farming of cultured black pearls. God, in his wisdom, decided that there can be only two places in the world where black pearl will grow. He gave it to us,
Yes.
and he gave it to the Tahitians.
Yes.
Now, we've got this beautiful lagoon just up north where we're farming black pearls. The island of Manihiki is well underway. In fact, by December this year, they will be harvesting somewhere close to 270,000 black pearls. And we're looking at taking this industry to the island of Manihiki, which has the largest lagoon of all.
Yes.
And black lip pearls grow there naturally, but we want to do it properly so that it becomes a major industry.
Yeah.
We want to take it to the island of Pukapuka. We want to take it to the island of Rakahanga, to the island of Aitutaki, where we can then look to black pearls, Cook Islands black pearls, as the future for this country.
Yes.
For example, on the Australian market, one black pearl is fetching at the lowest price $500 Australian. At the highest,
Not bad.
that's not bad.
No, no,
But at the highest, for one single black pearl, $15,000 to $16,000 Australian. And I'm looking to something like 1992. By that time, we will have harvested our first farm in Saguaro, together with the third large harvest from Manihiki. And we will harvest our first market from Penryn Island. And I can see then, I mean, Manihiki alone can fetch this country $30 million New Zealand in 1 year. Saguaro by itself is more likely to get us twice that much in 1 year. Our present budget is $55 million.
Yeah.
Those two countries in one single year is going to bring us twice
The now being budget.
that budget of the trade.
Yeah. Now, you have also developed a certain type of culture, and I know that here in the Cook Islands you have still a sort of two-string power system. You are the Prime Minister in a parliamentary system,
Yes.
as we know from our countries in Europe. But you have something else here which we do not have. Could you explain about that?
Yes, well, we do indeed have two power structures in the country. We have one that is the political power structure founded upon our inheritance from Britain and from New Zealand. It's a political structure founded upon the Westminster parliamentary system, where people are elected, and anyone can be elected. Anyone can be a prime minister, and he can be a cleaner one day and the prime minister the next day, and he can be the janitor one afternoon and the prime minister the following day, if it were the wish of the people. Now, that's a system that has been going in this country since 1965. Prior to that, and for hundreds of years prior to that, and even up to today, we have a political structure of our own that is endemic, that is indigenous to our country, in fact, to the whole of Polynesia. We have tribal structures with chiefs having sole right over, in the old days, life and property. They had total control. But to be a chief, you had to be a very strong person. You had to be a warrior. You had to defend your title against all forms of challenges from other tribes and even from those from within your tribe. But we did have a structure of the chief, the sub-chiefs, and the ranks of his family. And it's a very rigid, almost feudalistic structure that held control of these islands for all these years. And we are keeping the two structures going together. Like, for example, today, the president of the House of Chiefs spoke. Normally, she wouldn't be asked to speak, but on occasions such as this, the country, an important day for the country, she's invited to speak on behalf of that structure of political power, traditional power in the country. And of course, it's silly of any government in the Cook Islands not to work in conjunction with that structure because it's very powerful.
Yes. And what does this second power structure actually do? Because you are going to bring up the budget, and you are in the parliament, and you're the prime minister. So many Europeans would ask themselves, but yeah, he's talking about the House of Arikis, I understand what it's called.
Yes.
House of Chiefs. But what are they doing?
Yes.
Could you explain about that?
At law, they don't have much power. At law, they don't have much power over the elected representatives of the people. They have no control over Parliament, so they don't enjoy, for example, the role of the House of Lords of England, for example. We don't have a bicameral parliamentary system. Ours is unicameral. In other words, there's only one Parliament. It's not two-tiered. So the House of Ariki has no power over Parliament, no veto control over laws passed by Parliament. But it, at law, is encouraged to study and make recommendations to Parliament on matters concerning the life and the well-being of a tribe, the customs of a tribe, the traditions of the country, for example, customs pertaining to the appointment and election of chiefs, and so forth. Now that is their role rather, at law. But that's not where they are most powerful. The chiefs are elected by immediate families. You know, the tribe has no say over that. It never has. A chief is elected by that family who for several years inherited within the family the title from generation to generation. They alone elects the chief. But once elected, he becomes the head of the whole tribe and has strong control over the tribe. In the outer islands, extremely powerful. Rarotonga has become a lot more cosmopolitan, and our contact with Western civilization has been much more intricate than has been the case in the outer islands. People here, especially the young ones, aren't quite so mindful nor so respectful of the traditional structure, and probably don't pay as much respect to the chiefs. But when meetings are called, when important functions are about to be held, and the tribe is called to partake or participate, you see the power of the chiefs on those occasions.
As an end to this very interesting talk with you, Mr. Prime Minister, I would like to see you say something about the future. If you have, you are talking about the young people here, and the young people all over the world are the future of your country and all the other countries. You were emphasizing education here as well. Many places we have some, especially in Europe, I think we have some sort of a crisis actually within the young generation.
Yes.
How do you think the Cook Islands younger generation will grow up and take over after you when they are going to be the cleaner, the Prime Minister and whatever?
Yes, of course. No doubt about that. The young people today are the leaders of tomorrow. And that's a fact that a person like me has to immediately recognize. Fat-headed I might get and want to remain the Prime Minister for the next 100 years. It's not going to happen. Sometime tomorrow, some young man is going to challenge me for my title, and he's going to win. And that is a fact I have to accept. So the best thing to do is to then prepare the scene for the young people of today so that they can assume the role of leadership sensibly. Now, you know, there's too much talk these days about the generation gap, so big that there is a terrible misunderstanding between the young of today who can't understand how the old people are thinking, and the old people who can't understand why the young people are behaving the way they are. There seems to be this gap of misunderstanding. The problem, of course, is that we're not sitting down and talking with one another.
No.
The young people are refusing to hear the old, and the old can't hear the young. All they hear is loud, noisy music and thumping in the house and what have you. The fact of the matter is, they have to be part of the scene.
Yeah.
Make them part of the scene, they'll accept the responsibility. Give them the responsibility, they'll handle it with care. If you don't, you'll lose your young people.
Yeah. And that's exactly what should not happen, neither here nor anywhere else. Geoffrey Henry, Prime Minister of Cook Islands, we've been very glad to meet you, very glad to have this interview with you, and we hope that you'll succeed in your tasks, and maybe we'll see you some day else when we will come back here to Cook Islands.
Well, do come back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
For talking to us.
Good.
Bye.
dispuestos a triunfar. Vamos a decir que no. Por la vida y por la paz. Terminemos con la muerte, es la oportunidad.